Hello and welcome. First of all, I will love to introduce myself. I'm Lufraile Sandoval, and today I'm going to share with you a little bit about communication disorders. So, a communication disorder is any disorder that affects an individual ability to comprehend, detect, or apply language and speech to engage in a dialogue effectively with others. So this disorder is divided in two, language and speech impairments. They are not the same, but they have similarities. Okay, so I took the decision to talk individually about them, but that doesn't mean that they are very different. No, they actually have similarities between them, but they are not the same. So first of all, I will love to talk about language impairments first. Okay, the definition or the concept of the language impairment is a communication disorder, as I said is a disorder that interferes with the development of language skills in children who have no hearing loss. The language impairment can affect a child's speaking, listening, reading, and writing. It is one of the most common developmental disorders, affecting approximately 7 to 10% of children. So, what are the causes of this disorder? Well, the cause, it's clear. Well, we have two answers for that, and one will be that it's totally unknown. So, but the recent discovery suggests that it has a strong genetic link. Okay, so in fact, 50 to 70% of children with language impairment have at least one family member with the disorder. So these are the two options or answers that we have for the causes of this language impairment. Okay, and right now I would like to talk about the symptoms. What are the symptoms? I think it's really important to know what are the symptoms to know what the sickness is. It's just an example. For example, you need to know what symptoms have someone who has COVID to know that they have COVID, right? So it's the same thing with a disorder, with a disability. You have to know what are the symptoms, not only to know what are the sickness, but to know what is the treatment that you have to use. It's very important that. So as we know, this disorder children can have it as well as an adult. So we have to discuss the symptoms of our children and symptoms about the adults. Okay, so for the children's, one of the symptoms are be late to put words together into sentences, struggle to learn new words and make conversation, have difficulty following directions, not because they are stubborn, but because they do not fully understand the words spoken to them. This can be a clear example or symptoms that we can see clearly. Like if they have problems following what you are saying, it's not because like he don't get it or the student don't get it. It's because they don't understand why you're talking to them. This can be a symptoms of what a disorder is, of what is happening to our students. The other one is to make frequent grammatical errors when speaking. Okay, so this is all the children's symptoms. Now let's go to the adults' symptoms. So for the adults, the symptoms can be limited use of complex sentences, difficulty finding the right words, difficulty understanding figurative language, reading problems, disorganized storytelling. I'm sorry about the pronunciation of this word, I'm really sorry. And writing. These are the symptoms for the adults. So let's keep moving. How is the language impairment? So here you know the acronyms are SLI, is because a specific language impairment is the same thing. So how is the language impairment diagnosed? So this is something that we have to pay a lot of attention. You know, how to know what are the options that I have to make a diagnosis, you know, to be clear on what I'm seeing or doing. Okay, so the types of options that is given here, that I found in my research, is direct observation of the child. You know, if we see the interactions of these children with the other children, we can see clearly if they have this problem, or we can see the symptoms. Okay, interviews and questionnaires complete by parents or teachers, assessment of the child's learning ability, standardized tests of current language performance. This is how we know if a student have this disorder. Okay, we just not just to, oh no, he have problems with saying something, or have problems pronouncing these words, or he have this disorder. I think he has the communication disorder. It's not just like that. So we must pay attention on the symptoms and how we can diagnose this. Okay, so let's keep moving. Now we're going to talk about the speech impairments. Okay, so we talk about the language impairments, and now we're going to talk quickly about speech impairment. The speech impairment happens when your child's mouth, jaw, and tongue and vocal tract cannot work together to produce recognizable words. Okay, this is very simple. You know, it's a little bit different about the language impairment, but not the same. It's not the same. They have a little difference. It's a little bit different. Okay, so what are the causes of the speech impairment of the C? I call it C because of the S and the I. So what causes C? Well, there is no a single cause for speech impairment, but a sign of this could be the developmental delay. It could be as the language impairment. It could be a genetic link, but it also shows, or it can be a sign, that the child's brain cannot coordinate the functions that help them to speak. Okay, this can be the causes of that. The next is, how are speech impairment diagnosed? Okay, so the healthcare providers usually begin diagnosis with a comprehensive developmental evaluation. Okay, so it's by evaluation. This evaluation determines if the suspect's speech impairment is a sign of an underlying physical or developmental problem. Okay, it's about evaluation. Okay, as teacher, we have to evaluate this student by the health care. He provides a diagnosis, so we have to work with this. Now I would like to finish, I would love to talk about the treatment for each one. Okay, so each impairment have their treatment, and for the language impairments we have treatment service. They are typically provided or overseen by a licensed speech language pathologist. Okay, the treatment might be provided in homes, schools, university programs for speech language pathology, private clinics, or outpatient hospital settings. Identifying and treating children with language impairments early in life it's ideal, but people can respond well to the treatment regardless of when it begins. The treatment depends on the age and needs of the person. Okay? Starting treatment early can help young children to acquire missing elements of grammar, expand their understanding and use of words, and develop social communication. Okay? For school-age children, treatment might focus on understanding the instruction in the classroom, including helping with issues such as following directions, understanding the meaning of the words that teacher used, organizing information, improving speaking, reading, and writing skills. Okay? For the speech impairment, the treatment is therapy. Speech therapy can help if the delay in development affect your children's speech. Speech therapy is a helpful part of the treatment for children who have conditions such as autism, cerebral palsy, or hearing loss. Some speech impediments might require surgery. So these are the treatment of these impairments. So I think we have learned a lot about communication disorders. I actually, when I was reading about the disorders that exist, I was shocked. I didn't know that if a student have certain problems with focusing, there was a disorder that create that. I didn't know that. I just felt like if a student cannot focus, it's because he doesn't want to. So I think that this is very important to know as a teacher, because we can make judgment on our students without knowing, of course. And I think that this is an incredible way to be aware of each disorder. For the end, I would love to say it's thanks for your attention. I hope this presentation and this information will be useful for you, and I hope you learned something today. I really did, and yeah, so thank you. This is how it ends, and thanks for your attention.